Almost every country in the world is in debt. The United States has the highest debt in its history, $38 trillion. The European Union owes $14 trillion, and Japan owes $9 trillion. And it doesn't stop there. Even oil-rich Saudi Arabia, marketing giant Germany and China each owe trillions of dollars. But here's the strange question. If everyone is in debt, then who is the world indebted to? This is where money, power, and history collide. Because debt isn't a burden. It's the foundation of the modern world. Every war, every crisis, every economic boom and collapse, all rest on this invisible system. And when you follow the chain, you realize something. The world is, in fact, indebted to itself. But of course, that doesn't mean everyone earns the same money. Today, the world owes a total of $315 trillion, nearly 3 times the planet's annual economy. So how did we get here? The answer goes back hundreds of years to the era of wars. In 1694, England ran out of gold while at war with France. The king found the solution in merchants. The merchants lent money to the king in exchange for a promise of future tax revenues. And to protect this arrangement, the Bank of England was founded. That was the turning point in history. The state could now spend money it didn't actually have. In return, the merchants received a promise that could be bought and sold from the government. Thus the bond was born. France adopted the same system. The Netherlands improved it. America used it while gaining independence and growing. In short, debt became not a sign of mistrust, but a symbol of trust. Once, empires conquered lands to gain gold. Now they issue bonds to gain interest. 3 centuries passed, and debt became the world's main export. America owes $38 trillion, Japan owes $9 trillion, and the world adds another trillion in debt every 100 days. Everyone owes, everyone lends, and all of us, through our taxes, savings, and pension funds, are both debtors and creditors. But do you know who's holding the other end of the rope? Let's look from America's side. Most of this $38 trillion is public debt, meaning the government doesn't owe itself, but owes companies. And most of those companies are Americans. Banks, funds, insurance firms, even the Federal Reserve. The rest, about $9 trillion, belongs to foreigners. The largest share is held by Japan, $1 trillion, then China, the UK, Luxembourg, Belgium. So those who say America owes China are right, but that's only about 2% of the total. The rest circulates within itself. The government issues bonds. Banks buy them, the central bank buys them back. New money is created. Taxes pay the interest, but that interest goes back into American pension funds. In short, the system finances itself and keeps spinning. And it's not just in America. While Japan lends to the US lends to Europe through the IMF. Europe lends to developing nations through the World Bank. And those nations reinvest their foreign earnings back into Western bonds. So everyone owes everyone. Every debt is guaranteed by another debt. It's like a huge poker game where everyone borrows chips from one another. And the only rule is, no one leaves the table. But above this entire system lies something else. The markets. They decide which countries can borrow cheaply and which will fall into crisis. And when they lose confidence, as in Greece, Argentina, or Sri Lanka, a country can collapse overnight. Democracy decides who governs, but the markets decide who survives in a crisis. And the high priests of this order are the central banks. They don't just manage debt, they create it. New money is in fact someone else's debt. There is no money without debt. This system has stood for decades on one thing: trust. As long as investors believe that governments will pay interest, not necessarily the debt itself, the wheel keeps turning. But when that trust breaks, we've seen it in countries like Greece. Interest rates skyrocket, economies collapse, unemployment soars. And in the end, the same thing happens. Old debts are paid with new loans and the system restarts. Because in today's world, debt isn't meant to be repaid, it's meant to be rolled over. Governments don't plan to eliminate debt. They renew it, refresh it. And interest becomes the oil that keeps the system running. So when politicians say, "We'll end the debt," they're really selling a dream. The goal isn't to end debt, but to sustain belief in it. Because when trust is lost, the system collapses. But as long as confidence endures, the numbers can rise forever. Still, the cycle doesn't benefit everyone equally. Interest payments flow upward through society, from taxpayers and workers to fund owners and large investors. So debt isn't just a flow between countries, it's a flow between classes. And as global debt grows, so does inequality. In the end, there are no villains in this system. Not China, not Wall Street, not the IMF. They, and we, are all part of it. Modern finance has turned debt into money. Governments issue it, banks expand it, investors trade it, and we're all tied to it. Debt is no longer a form of slavery. It's a mechanism of balance. But if that balance ever breaks, that's when we'll remember what it truly is. A promise that cannot be kept forever.